So let's move to the opening talk. This is my friend from Switzerland. I meet him every year in Berlin, and he's a professor. And he has made a lot of projects with himself and with students. And the thing is that in Berlin every year there's a pre-ROPA presentation of online projects, and Thomas is always there. He used to blog about the thing, so he's been following things for many, many years. And I asked, and usually he's sitting in the back corner not saying a lot of things, and suddenly he just raises his hand and says something so brilliant, sometimes a bit sarcastic, but always right. And I think maybe this guy knows things. And I asked him, do you want to speak at this festival? Because I was sure he was going to share something with us. And he said, yes, I have some projects. I said, no. Maybe you should just tell the whole story. I mean, a brief story of storytelling in digital. So take us from the beginning to where we are now, Thomas. Please approach the stage. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Kåre. I don't need the mic. Hand it back to you. Thank you. No, I'm fine. Thank you, Kåre, for your flattering introduction. He's a flattering guy, isn't he? Don't believe him too much. My name is Thomas Weibel. I am from Switzerland. I am a freelance journalist. I am a multimedia producer, and I am a professor in media engineering. I used to work for Swiss newspapers for 15 years, and then I went over to the cultural channel of the Swiss Public Radio for another 15 years. And now I'm here on stage, and I'm one of the guys you will be blaming Kåre afterwards. I want to present to you a short history of digital narratives in media. It's a couple of storytelling projects I've encountered during the past 10 years. Projects that left a deep impression on me. Projects I would like to share with you. Some of them are well known, some of them are less known, and some of them you might not have seen before. It is a very personal selection, but these are, in my opinion, these are milestones in online storytelling. Okay, here we go. Just one remark. My talk will be fairly brief. In about 40 minutes, Kåre will start hugging me, and you may breathe a sigh of relief and then start enjoying the festival. Okay. Once upon a time, there was a young editor at a small Swiss newspaper. And since you are keen observers, you will easily notice this is the same guy just a couple of weeks ago, and you will certainly notice the difference. No cigarettes on the desk anymore, but that's another story. A long time has passed since then, and between these two shots, 35 years to be precise, and these 35 years have brought quite a couple of technological revolutions. I have seen many fabulous devices come and go. Today, we may listen to stories like this, and tomorrow, maybe like this. In these 35 years, these have been my tools for telling my stories. On the top right, you will see that famous Schneider Euro PC. That was the machine that took me into computing, where I am today. These were my multimedia tools. Some of you may recognize that famous portable professional radio tape recorder invented in Switzerland called Nagra, which was one of my devices. And these were my multimedia tools. This is where my stories went. So, dear colleagues, this is quite some time travel. Only 20 years ago, this is how the Neue Zürcher Zeitung, which is Switzerland's most renowned newspaper, looked like. Just 20 years back, 1998. and this is how it looks today. When I was young, this is how media were produced and delivered, and this is how stories are delivered today. So what had happened was that society, economy, the media, the world have been struck by the lightning of the internet. And this has done a lot to us, and of course, to the media. We, the audience, have learned a couple of lessons during the past 20 years. The first being online media are annoying. The ad business has exploded. Portals have been flooded with ads, banners, pop-ups, all sorts of things that reliably keep us from reading and from viewing. And then, of course, online media are quick. We have to admit it. News are delivered virtually at the speed of light. Generations of typographers, layouters, printers, deliverers have been replaced by the push of a button. Quick, as I told you. News are of a new type. Sometimes undoubtedly nice, but maybe not that relevant. The other day, I read a story in a major Swiss news outlet, one of the most important news sites, about a passenger who took her hamster with her, went to the plane, had to go to the toilet, took her hamster with her, and there it happened. The hamster fell down, fell into the toilet and got stuck in the drain, and in the end, the only thing she could do was to flush him, which is a tragedy, but maybe not the type of story that helps me understand the world. Online news are cheap. Cheap all the way. Often inaccurate, poor research, poor language, made by beginners, at low cost. To this day, at a major Swiss newspaper, the Neue Zürcher Zeitung, I showed you before, the young online editors are mocked electricians by their senior newspaper colleagues. Electricians, which is not very flattering indeed. Online media, in many cases, are submissive. Submissive to companies, to political parties, to authorities, following intransparent agendas instead of doing their proper research and investigation. And then, online news are bad news. Bad news. And the reason for this is fairly simple. Bad news just perform better. They get more readers, get more clicks, make higher revenues, and in the end, make higher wages. So many online news are just junk, quickly read, easily forgotten, useless all the way. And often enough, they are just fake. Fake all the way. And we, the audience, feel uninformed and cheated. Okay then, instead of being told long, rich, deep, great stories, we are slapped right in the face by tiny, worthless news tidbits that leave us as hungry for information as we had been before. All right, annoying, quick, irrelevant, submissive, cheap, bad, junk, and fake. Online media, you might say, didn't have the best start into the online world. What is journalism all about? Journalism is to closely examine the small, to widen the angle, to put into context, in order to catch a glimpse at the bigger picture and, in the end, maybe at one of the ties that keep the world together. Astonishingly, it took quite some time until real journalists discovered the web and realized that good stories did not necessarily have to be printed on paper anymore. 10 years ago, in 2008, came Gaza Sderot, a project done by Arte Paris.
في عندنا فرح اليوم ما فيش مواصلات فيش شغل فيش كاد فيش فاضطرينا ناخذ مواصلة للقاهرة على اساس نوصل للحفل.
Gaza Sderot is a huge cross-media project, or used to be a huge cross-media project. You might call it some sort of a reality soap about the life of 6 men and women in Gaza and in Sderot, 2 cities divided by a border which is often referred to as the mother of all conflicts in the Middle East. 2 daily videos translated into German, French, English, and Arabic. And then this online platform with a unique double video player, with a slim sloped navigation in the middle, in order to emphasize that life is just life on either side of the border between states, religions, and cultures. Amazing. 2 years later, Arte again came up with another project, something completely different, which was called Prison Valley.
The United States incarcerates 1 out of 100 of its citizens. That's more percentage-wise than even China incarcerates.
That's mass incarceration. Literally in the African American and Latino community, every family is impacted.
The administrative maximum is all built on sensory deprivation.
The prison system has always been part of the culture in Canyon City. And so the city basically grew up around the prison there.
I know that we are in a county with many prisons, and it gives maybe a sense that there's a lot of bad people in a small space, but we don't feel it.
Prison Valley, in the first place, is a film documentary, and it is at the same time a sophisticated web platform, a web documentary, a daring blend between some sort of an interactive road movie and a computer game. It's the story about the new prison industry in Colorado. You might consider as the new Alcatraz of the US. The interface, the web doc, was maybe a bit complicated, but as a whole, it is a thrilling piece about what society does to and how it deals with its failing members. But there are not only large companies but there are also indie productions. In 2011, Samuel Bollendorf and Mehdi Ahoudig, a Paris-based photographer and maker of radio documentaries, came up with a project called À l'abri de rien. In English, you might translate it as something like no shelter. The trailer, unfortunately, is in French, but you will easily get the point.
Il y a l'humidité et tout là.
La peinture, regarde. Regarde. Oui, regarde. Qu'est-ce que tu vas faire? C'est la maison du diable là ou quoi?
Peut-être de révéler ce handicap. Bien évidemment, il faut que votre handicap ne soit pas un frein à l'exercice de votre métier. Est-ce qu'il y a un avantage à reconnaître son handicap, soit pour l'employeur? Alors je dirais qu'il y a un avantage une fois la personne en place, c'est toujours soit pour l'employeur.
Moi, j'ai rencontré le papa de mes enfants et on s'est dit le jour qu'on sera grand, on aura une belle maison comme les gens ont, on aura un grand jardin. Alors, on a décidé d'avoir une maison. Petit à petit, on a monté les murs. Quand on avait un peu d'argent, on a acheté quelques parpaings, on mettait de côté. Après, on a été, vous savez, dans le dimanche où il y a les vides-greniers, tout ça. Et bien, il y avait un monsieur qui vendait un lot de fenêtres. Alors, on s'est dit, on va acheter nos fenêtres parce que peut-être on en aura besoin. Après, les portes aussi, petit à petit, on s'est acheté une porte vide-grenier tout le temps. C'était 20 €. Je gardais 10 € pour, à côté. Je mettais tout le temps un peu d'argent de côté. On prenait les sous des petits pour mettre de côté en leur expliquant que c'était pour eux plus tard pour la maison. Et ça a démarré comme ça, petit à petit.
À l'abri de rien is a carefully done, calm and deeply touching piece about homeless people in France. Homeless not in the technical sense of the word, because all of them live under a roof, but it can be an abandoned factory building, can be a rusty caravan trailer, it can even be a tent in the woods. People forgotten by state welfare and forgotten by society. 16 slow, very respectful, sensitive, moving portraits of people in need in a stirring indie production that went around the world. As web technology was pushed further, the Swiss public television came up with 360 Grad Langstrasse, 360 degrees Long Street, which is the craziest street of Zurich. Pubs and businesses along the way, in many interviews, in 360-degree photos. 360 Grad Langstrasse, 360-degree Long Street, is a stunning one-page scroller about Zurich's funkiest residents. You'll meet barkeepers, silk dealers, yoga teachers, tattooists, whatever you want. 360 Grad Langstrasse was experimental and light-hearted, some sort of the rediscovery of the positive. You might consider it constructive journalism today, and to be frank, it just was fun. And then, in 2012, the New York Times stepped on stage with their amazing piece called Snowfall. Snowfall is a multimedia feature done by reporter John Branch about the fatal avalanche at Tunnel Creek in Washington, leaving 3 people dead and 1 injured in the end. Snowfall often is referred to as the mother of all web documentaries. To this day, it is a long read with many interactive graphics, with animated simulations, with aerial videos. It won the Pulitzer Prize for feature writing, and it proved to be highly influential for any type of online storytelling to this day. Snowfall. In 2015, 2 of my students came to me. They had been to Africa in order to do a promotional video for a Swiss company which is building mills, grain mills for Africa. But they face a serious problem because in the end there are mills in Africa, but there are no millers. In many states of Africa there is no such thing as a vocational school system to speak of. So they do not only have to build mills, but also to educate millers. My students came back with an amazing story they had encountered in Cameroon. Their piece, what they did, is called Ein Königreich macht Schule, in English, The King's School. Unfortunately, the trailer again is in German this time, but you'll get it.
Darf ich vorstellen? Die neueste Form, Film zu schauen. Ich nehme dich mit in ein kleines Königreich im Nordwesten Kameruns. Du hast die Möglichkeit, dir dein eigenes Bild der Region zu verschaffen. Drücke auf einen der roten Punkte, um beispielsweise mehr über den Königspalast zu erfahren. Wie hier in Form eines Videos aus der Luft oder anhand einer interaktiven Karte mit zusätzlichen Informationen. Eine Karte des Königreichs verschafft dir einen zusätzlichen Überblick über alle Inhalte der Webdokumentation. Jetzt bist du an der Reihe. Entdecke das Königreich auf eigene Faust.
The King's School tells the story of a ritual king in Cameroon, which is one of the failed states in Central Western Africa. A king who was deeply impressed by Switzerland's vocational school system and who decided to establish a 21st century school system in his kingdom on his own. Ein Königreich macht Schule, The King's School, is a full-blown film documentary, yet fully interactive, linear as well as non-linear, with loads of additional footage, photos, documents, maps, storytelling at its best. Done by two 25-year-old students who took their first steps into journalism by means of this piece. Two years ago, web technology or online technology was even pushed further. 360-degree video technology, augmented reality, virtual mixed reality tools were available, yet technology is just what it is. It's just technology. Arte, again, proved how brand new tech can tell a story that would remain untold without it. Notes on blindness.
This is cassette 1, track 1, Notes on Blindness, and this is the 21st of June, 1983.
Sitting in the park with the children, I hear the footsteps of people walking past me on the footpath. Further out to the right and behind me there's the car park and the sound of people starting and stopping their cars and driving off. Way off to the left there's the main road and the noise of the heavy traffic roaring past in the distance. The strange thing about it is that it's a world which consists only of activity. In the blind person's appreciation of weather, wind takes the place of sun.
Notes on Blindness is a piece about the theologian and writer John Hull losing his sight and reflecting on his loss of sight and, of course, on life and death by means of audio cassettes, which make the soundtrack for the VR piece. VR being a technology that per se deprives us of our sight. Notes on Blindness is as intelligent, as disturbing at the same time. John Hull died in 2015, shortly before the award-winning film and the interactive were published. Notes on Blindness is an epitaph in VR. Brilliant. When we are speaking about VR in 2017, again, a couple of students came to me. They had in mind to do a game in VR. I was pretty skeptical about it, but there it is. Again, a reflection about life and death, available for iOS, Android, and for the web, Yona the Game.
Welcome to Yona, the biggest, cleanest and most modern city in the 22nd century, where your wildest dreams will come true. Your opportunities are unlimited. Fly with the fastest drone QX3000 and arrive safely in seconds wherever you wish to go. To facilitate the life of our beloved population, we provide a personal assistant for every individual from the very beginning. Your personal assistant helps you in every situation, learning, working, living or meeting friends. It even ensures you to be a successful, happy and popular person. Thanks to our score system, our population has become peaceful. We are the first society without a single act of violence within a year. We are the future. We are Jona, the perfect metropolis of the 22nd century.
The perfect metropolis of the 22nd century. Life in Jona is ruled by a social score system, and the game starts with a phone call of your girlfriend in distress because her score has risen to a level that is way above your own level, and hence she is not allowed to see you anymore. You start struggling in order to increase your score, but in vain. In the end, your score is about the same as it was at the beginning, and your girlfriend will be dead. Jona the game is a mind-blowing dystopy in the tradition of 1984 or Brave New World, a work of 3 of my students. I was deeply impressed. And shortly after this, 4 other students came to me, only in their 2nd semester. They had just begun their studies. They came to me and told me about their idea to do a film documentary about refugees in Switzerland. We started talking a lot about journalism in general, about taking responsibility, about ethics, and in the end there was something completely different, Journey Untold.
I was born in Afghanistan. I don't know my exact date of birth. I think I'm about 29, maybe 30 years old. The grass on the mountains grew quickly, and I often had to cut it and feed it to the cows and sheep. There was no school in my village, but the children could go to the mosque to study. I was never able to go there because I had to help my family on the farm. My parents picked out my husband for me. My father met his father, and they started to negotiate. Before the agreement was made, they talked to each other for a long time. I wasn't allowed to see my husband before the wedding. I'm not sure when I got married. I was probably about 19 or 20 years old. In the years following the wedding, my children were born. I gave birth at home, as there wasn't a hospital in the village. My mother and my mother-in-law were there to help me. They come in great numbers, with all kinds of weapons. It wasn't long until the Taliban came closer and closer to my village. We could have been next. They come to kill everybody, even the children. They take no prisoners. No one is safe.
Journey Untold, this is how the project actually looks like. It is you might consider it a graphic novel, yet fully interactive, multimedia, and a straightforward tale the life story of a woman having fled from Afghanistan to Switzerland, brilliantly drawn, even by means of rotoscoping techniques. Very slow, very sensitive, stunning documentary. And of course, a piece of art. It is still work in progress. At the moment, chapter number 3 is in the making. But I believe this is storytelling at the core. Now, how do we do projects like these 9 I wanted to show you? I have a couple of do's and don'ts. First of all, of course, work in teams, small teams, teams consisting of youngsters and seniors, and if possible, of on and even offliners. And then funding, of course, but it's the restrictions that boost creativity. Playgrounds. I believe offices are the natural enemy of creativity, of creative ideas, and of course of innovation. So get out of the office. When asked, be frank. When asking, be tough. It doesn't make any sense to be nice just for the sake of it. Dare to be nasty. And be bold, because there can't be any kind of success without failure. And, of course, beware of the bosses. I mean, nothing against bosses. I like bosses. I used to be one of them. But we all know that bosses are not exactly the pride of creation. They are just a form of life. And their agenda will never be the same as yours. So, beware. This is a little flowchart for your own decision-making, which in most cases should guide you towards the most important thing of all. Be creative. Be creative, because creativity is the only key we have got to unlock the future of media, the future of storytelling. Once again, dear colleagues, what is journalism all about? Journalism is the quest for the universal by means of observing the small. News and facts are just bricks. And the news business is just piling them up. But it takes far more than a pile of bricks to build a house. Let us be bricklayers again and build that type of stories that make our audience understand. Let us invest in storytelling, time, money, passion, all we have, because storytelling and not news is the heart of media. Back to the future again. Media have told great stories in the past, and some of them will tell great stories in the future. Let's forget about content mass production, and let's do handmade stories again. Stories with blood, sweat, and tears. Stories that are relevant, deep, passionate, thrilling, and thus, dear colleagues, make journalism great again. Thank you.